Welcome to the Christian Capitalist Podcast, everybody. I'm Rich Sanders, your host, and so glad to be joined by my friend David Costa today. We're at the Costa Union in Niceville, Florida, and at the Union Studio. This is just a fantastic place for those of y'all who are used to watching the Christian Capitalist Podcast on my webcam with our little mini mics. We have seriously taken a step in the direction of major league technology today. I'm so glad to be here. Good morning, David.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. Yeah, this is our first little test run of the studio here, so we're excited for it.
I'm glad to be the guinea pig.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for opening the studio for us to use today. As y'all know, the Christian Capitalist Podcast is all about hard work and generous giving to the poor and needy in the name of Jesus. We'll be talking today with David about how his faith informs his business and all the various issues that we like to address on the Christian Capitalist Podcast. But please feel free to like, share, tag, and follow as you listen to this episode and we see the results of it on social media. And of course, you can always learn more about our movement at christiancapitalist.life. But for now, let's talk about David Costa, owner-operator of McDonald's franchises all over the Emerald Coast. Good morning, David.
Yes. Well, hello, good morning.
It's good to see you. And so we're sitting in this beautiful studio in Niceville, Florida. Let's start off by talking about how you got here. Are you originally from the Emerald Coast?
Yeah, so my father was in the Air Force for a number of years,
okay.
and we moved here when I was a young child, like first grade, and then we ended up really liking the area. So we wanted to stay here. He exited the military at an early retirement opportunity that was being offered then because he was in the process of being able to become a McDonald's franchisee at the time.
Isn't that something? Well,
Yeah.
You and I have a lot in common then. My father was in the Air Force as enlisted, then an officer for a total of 26 years.
Wow.
So a long career. I was born on an Air Force base in Japan. My younger brother is 20 months younger than me. He was born at Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma City. So how about you? Were you born at an Air Force base?
I was not. I was born in Wichita, Kansas, and so in a hospital there. But yes,
Gotcha.
but very close to the Air Force base there. Yeah.
That's great. What did your dad do in the Air Force?
So he started out in missiles, and then he ended up going later on into contracting and handling the purchasing and thing of assets for the military.
Gotcha. And came to the Emerald Coast and loved it. It's so funny. We interview a lot of folks here on the Christian Capitalist Podcast who are here locally, and so many times it was the Air Force that brought them here. For those of y'all who aren't familiar with our community, Niceville, Florida is right next to Eglin Air Force Base, one of really geographically the largest military installations in the United States, and home to a whole bunch of fighter jets that are out there in the Gulf of America protecting us every day. So once your dad got out of the Air Force and got into, well, first of all, as an Air Force officer, what had him interested in McDonald's while he was still on active duty? It sounds like there was some planning into that.
Yeah, when he was in the Air Force, he decided to get his MBA, and he just really loved business and entrepreneurship. And I was the same way as a young child, actually. And so as soon as he got into McDonald's, I started doing that with him from some other business opportunities that I was working on as a middle schooler. But he just wanted to be
awesome.
involved in that, and he just really wanted to do more and achieve more. And so he started going down the path and sold the house, sold the boat, sold everything he could to be able to put the down payment on the McDonald's.
Isn't that something? That's really cool. All right, so that's something else that our fathers have in common. My father, when I was in high school, was stationed at the Pentagon. So my brother and I went to high school in the D.C. area at St. John's, which is a Christian brothers school, and got his graduate degree from University of Southern California, which had a D.C. center right there by the FBI building. So nights and weekends, he was going to that USC center. How did your dad get his MBA? I mean, back in those days, was it correspondence, or did he get it here locally?
He did the same thing. He ended up doing it through correspondence. It was a little different. They didn't have the same online piece.
Right,
so
exactly.
He ended up on those nights and weekends as well, and was able to get it done. So yeah.
And what a great role model for working hard, and getting stuff done. So let's talk a little bit about you as a middle schooler with some business ideas. I love this. And something tells me it wasn't just delivering newspapers.
Yeah, I mean, it started out as a basic lemonade stand, then ended up going into a candy stand, and then the first McDonald's we got was in Mobile, Alabama. So we moved that direction, and in my new neighborhood there, I started a delivery service for the kids, and so I would go to Sam's Club, buy the boxes of candy, and then deliver it to their houses. And then from there, I ended up doing a printing business. I really enjoyed
Wow.
that and thought it was fun. And so I would reach out to people and start, and ask them if I could print business cards or letterhead. And I ended up getting a wholesale partner in Mobile that could print the stuff for me, and
Wow.
sold it. So
David, that's really interesting. All right, so let me take a step back because for many of the members of our audience who have a lot of life experience, let's just say they're in their 70s and 80s, they remember a time when you had a phone book and delivery service was you call somebody and ask them to deliver it to you. Many of our younger audience members are, they're used to just punching the number on your phone and next thing you know, it's at your door, including McDonald's, right? How did a candy delivery service work?
Yeah, I mean, it was a small neighborhood, like 30 homes, and it just worked out. I actually ended up hiring one of my friends to come pick it up and take it, but
That's
essentially
awesome.
someone would, back then you had to call on a phone, so you would call and say, hey, I'm looking for this, and then, they would, and someone would just come to my house and get it. We'd have a little setup
Right.
in the garage, but they would know that it was available to them. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
that's cool.
That's great. I remember a day when I started my law firm, I guess in 1997, and I had to go order business cards. And remember watching the woman print them up. She had a giant printing press at the back of her office. Did you have all that equipment, or was the wholesaler in Mobile able to print all that for you?
Yeah, I never acquired the equipment. Back then, it was a really big deal to get a printing press.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah.
like what you can do today.
Yeah.
And then to make sure you got the right cuts and lines and everything. So there was a company that specialized in wholesale printing, so that they didn't work with the general public. You had to have a reseller account to be able to use them, and so that's what I did.
Oh man, that's great. And so all of this was in Mobile while you're in middle school and high school?
Right, yeah.
That's awesome. We have, as I'm a retired lawyer and my specialty was healthcare. So I spent a lot of time in Mobile for various healthcare projects, working at Spring Hill, working at Providence, working at Mobile Infirmary. Yeah, it's a great town and a very vibrant medical community.
Yeah.
What was it like as a business owner there?
We ended up moving and living in Fairhope, Alabama,
Oh,
which is
okay.
right outside, and
Sure.
it was a harder spot because it was in one of the areas in Mobile that was a little bit tougher, the higher crime rate, and so our McDonald's was constantly, we had the police there a lot.
Oh no.
So, it was our first one. My dad, fresh out of the Air Force, and
Yeah.
going into that was a little challenging. So
Yeah.
we ended up spending 3 years there, and he sold that restaurant and then moved back to this area.
Gotcha.
And we got the restaurant that we wanted, which was in a little town, Blue Water Bay, Florida, a little suburb of Niceville, where we're at now. So yeah.
And is that the one I drove over the Mid-Bay Bridge today to get here? Is that the one I passed right out there on 285?
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. It looks fantastic. Looks like it's had a renovation or two in the last 20 years.
It has had several renovations, and 2 years ago, my father sold it as he's kind of begun his slow retirement journey. So we don't own it anymore, but
Gotcha.
it was a great first restaurant for over 20 years for us.
Isn't that something? So how long has, I shouldn't conjecture. When did he retire from the Air Force and when did y'all open that one in Mobile?
He retired in 1990, and then in 1993 opened up the restaurant in Mobile, or purchased a restaurant there.
Gotcha.
And then in 1997 we moved back to Niceville, Florida.
Gotcha. So about 30 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? And so did you always work with the McDonald's restaurants from day one?
I did. As
I
soon
mean, I
as,
guess once you got out of high school.
No, while I was in high school, I worked. I would come after school. I would do the schedule. I would help, work behind the counter, whatever was needed. And then when we moved back to Niceville, I ended up being a shift manager. So I would close the restaurant at night and get up and go to school. And then when I went away to college, my father had the opportunity to start growing the company. And that's when I came back, became a general manager, and I went through the application process to become a McDonald's franchisee.
Interesting. So you and your father each went through that process.
Yes, correct.
What does that look like? I've never had a chance to ask anybody. I mean, I'm sure there's something proprietary in there, but just generally speaking, for those who might be interested in opening a McDonald's and becoming an owner-operator in their community, what's that process look like generally? I'm sure it's changed in 30 years. But
Yeah, it has. It's a multi-year process that we've
Wow.
that my father's was different than mine because I was able to go in under the next generation program. So essentially, I would learn everything I needed to know under my father, and then every month I would send reports and meet with a McDonald's corporate executive that would make sure that I was meeting the marks, and essentially I would have to drive that process. If I didn't drive it, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they were going to make sure I did it, to make sure I was able to function as an entrepreneur on my own without them needing to be right there for me. And so after several years, I actually became one of the youngest McDonald's owners approved when I was 23 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and got my first restaurant. And essentially, you get a loan, and that's how you get it done. You have to have a certain amount of equity available as well. It was different for my father than me with, again, going into the Next Generation program. I was able to work out a deal with him to get equity from him and then to pay him back. So it was basically two different loans that I got to make happen.
Does McDonald's as the big entity, does McDonald's provide the financing, or did you need to go down to the bank as a 23-year-old?
Yeah, they don't provide any financing. It all comes through the bank.
Wow, isn't that something? What an education so early on. All right, so speaking of education, where'd you go to school and what did you study?
Yeah, so I graduated from Niceville High School, and then I ended up graduating from University of West Florida, which is somewhat local here in Pensacola, Florida. And then I ended up getting my business degree from there. And then many years later, I went back and took advantage of what's called an executive MBA program. I've always been a big Florida Gator fan, and so I ended up getting accepted into University of Florida for an executive MBA program where I would go every week or once a month on the full weekend for 22 months.
Wow. And
so,
that's exactly what your dad did and my dad did, right?
Yeah.
Because you're working full-time and going to school.
Correct, yeah.
Ooh.
It was an incredible experience, learned a lot, and proud to have graduated from there.
That's great.
Yeah.
Although something tells me that you could easily be on the faculty of the executive MBA program as well, given how early you got to start to it.
Yeah.
What's many of the folks that are listening to our episode today are thinking, man, how do you as a young person, middle school, high school, even college, and then as one of the youngest owner-operators ever approved at McDonald's, where's that entrepreneurial spirit come from? Have you ever thought about that, kind of how far you go back with that mindset?
Yeah, I've wondered that because I always think about the nature versus the nurture piece, right? Is it something that I was born innately with, or is it something that I garnered from the environment around me? But it's always been a passion of mine, probably even from when my dad started a business. Because, when he went into business, I didn't have to go, work there. And I was very interested in doing that. So to me, I think it was innately me just having a drive and a passion for what I could do to make a difference in the world. And it started out with saying, what can I achieve? What ambitions do I have? And then it kind of has slowly gone into more that after you're able to achieve certain successes in areas, how are you able to give back, and how can it be more about impact than it is just about financial gain?
Amen. We're going to be talking about that in just a minute. Because of course the motto of the Christian capitalist movement is the more we make, the more we give. Yeah. So I definitely want to ask you about that. But you reminded me when my father got out of the Air Force in 1990. He started teaching at the university level in healthcare administration, but then also started a business. I think there is, it's very interesting, especially given the common background of being Air Force officers for decades, right? That consistent, working with the federal government through the Department of the Air Force, you get paid every 2 weeks. But then to kind of take that leap and be an entrepreneur is a lot of risk and a lot of faith. Right. What do you think about that? What for those who are currently in a job that has a steady salary, what's that leap of faith like?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of times people that have been in business talk about how the business owns them versus them owning the business. So I think, like you mentioned, you definitely have to be passionate about something, and I think testing out what does that look like and feel like for you, because you may realize that something that you enjoy as a hobby you don't necessarily want to do as a business. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's understanding and being aware of what your really goals are and what your objectives are. Mm-hmm. Originally, I thought in high school I wanted to be a hotel resort manager. I thought it'd be really cool to be on like one of those large resorts that are running. I still love today to watch the operations of how those resorts run. Mm-hmm. But I worked as a bellman for a summer in a resort here locally, and I learned how different it was than the experience that people are having that are enjoying the resort.
Right.
And I said, I don't think this is what I want to be doing.
Right.
And so it helped me quickly understand that before I went to school for that or before I jumped into that.
Amen. It's so funny you say that. Our oldest son, James, just graduated from the University of Alabama a year ago this past weekend.
Awesome.
And is now working bellman front desk at Sandestin.
Oh, yeah.
And never had any interest in hospitality, but then all of a sudden, he thinks about it as, well, I can welcome people, I can get them oriented, I can, kind of show them around. And at least at Sandestin, it's different than just loading luggage on a cart and riding the elevator.
Right.
You got 2,400 acres or whatever it is to take people to. Mm-hmm. But life experience has a way of informing that. I have also a question for you. As you mentioned, your dad was starting to sell stuff, sell the house, everything, to be able to get the equity to become an owner-operator. Something tells me that he also had a significant amount of family support to be able to do that.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah, so he needed family support from, from his extended family and from, us as a family and from, my mother, his wife. So, we lived in several different rental houses after that because we didn't know the timing. So we kept kind of moving from one to the next. And so it was something that he had to really make sure that leap was going to be worth it. And he wasn't sure at the time that it even would be, right? And so it took us, understanding as much as we could, what it was. I remember when he sold the house, it was this whole thing. If you guys can keep your rooms clean and keep everything right, or we can show the house properly, then you can end up with what was called a game gear at the time, And so it was a motivation for us.
I love that. And so you have a brother or sister?
I have two younger sisters.
Two younger sisters. That's great.
Yeah.
And are they also in McDonald's?
So my youngest sister has never been in McDonald's. She has her nursing degree and has done that for a while. And then my middle sister, she worked at McDonald's and was a franchisee for a while. And she sold her franchise and ended up, she does interior design. Actually, she helped us with a lot of the design here in this building.
That's cool. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. And if we'll put the address and all the information about the Costa Union Club on the show notes for the podcast. So I was a partner at a big firm back in the 2000s, right during the recession. And we had, as I like to say, a continuing disagreement about the value of my services there. And so as Rebecca and I were talking about whether it was time to go start my own firm, we talked about the income, the fact that we had 3 kids and a mortgage, and the 3 kids were all in private school in Atlanta. And I said, babe, there's some real risk to me leaving and starting my own law firm. And I appreciate your support and love you for that support. But there's some risk. And she said, there's more risk in staying.
Yeah.
That kind of empowerment was just so awesome, that even now, 17 years later, I'm still, kind of thinking about that. So this effort that we're in is also very much part of you and your wife, MJ, working together. So tell us a little bit about that and how this has all come together.
Yeah, so, when I look at all the work that we've done at McDonald's over the years, it's been an incredible journey that we're on, and we're still building more restaurants. I mean, we're still continuing to grow and keep that going in a really
awesome.
Exciting way.
Yeah.
My wife and I, when we got married in 2022, it was coming together of our families and blending together our 6 children and making that work. Yes. So it was.
All right, so just to be clear, this is May 4th of 2026. You have not had 6 kids in 4 years.
No, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good.
My oldest is.
Because MJ looks fantastic. I just met her outside if she has.
Right. Yeah, so we brought our families together, and we essentially, she'd been working at MJ's place for a while, had just purchased it a couple years previous, and owned it and ran it. And so she shared with me her vision for the building and for what it could become. And then we had the opportunity to buy the building for her to help grow it even more. And then we were trying to figure out what to do with it. And then she had some big ideas about how to bring it as a community hub. And then I said, hey, this will be perfect for some of the things that I want to do from a leadership standpoint and what I'm trying to do for my employees at McDonald's. Yeah. And how I can show them some great ways to be able to, essentially what we're calling it is go from good to golden, and get them unstuck in their certain ways to help us, give the best experience we can in our restaurants. Mm-hmm. So it's worked out really nicely for us to be able to come together and create something like this.
And y'all, I can't, it's early on in the process of of kind of opening the doors on this building. But David and I are in this gorgeous podcast studio in a gorgeous building. We're up on the second floor, and there's a ton of space here, and really state of the art. I mean, the place looks fantastic, even though there's still some things to finish. So tell us the vision that you have for the club here.
Yeah, so the idea is that it'll be a place where the community can come together, whether it's in Niceville, Destin, Crestview, the whole Emerald Coast, Fort Walton Beach. There's a great space here to come and get some great coffee. It'll be open to the public to grab a cup of coffee, to sit down in the common areas. And then on the second floor and a little bit on the first floor, it's a private members area that will host leadership events. It'll be able to, members are able to use the room that we're in now to record their own content, whether it's something as short as a TikTok or Instagram reel, or something like a podcast or whatever that looks like for them. And then we have a really neat outdoor event space as well. Mm-hmm. And so we see it as not just a place that you go, but a place that you can grow. So there's areas to do counseling, music lessons, to do one-on-one deep conversations, deep thinking, or even, Zoom meetings or whatever that looks like. Mm-hmm. We have another little room that'll be perfect for 6 a.m. Bible study or a 6 p.m. evening gathering. So
that's great.
The idea is that it would be highly elevated. It wouldn't be like what you normally see in this area, but almost like you're going into a cultured large city. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to bring that to this hometown area here in Niceville.
Fantastic. And you mentioned, so MJ currently has a coffee shop, right?
So it's been shut down the last 6 months for renovations. But gotcha. Yes, it'll reopen soon.
Gotcha. And so that's a coffee shop that she plans to continue to run, but do it right here.
Yes.
Isn't that wonderful? I haven't thought about this in a long time, David. Rebecca and I moved here 4 years ago full time. We bought a house that had been renovated. Mm-hmm. In Atlanta, we renovated 4 houses.
Wow.
Right, and lived to tell about it. Mm-hmm. How's the process of working on a construction project with your wife going?
I've had that
and I recognize she's right outside.
Yeah, I've had that question a few times. And, she has the creative and design thoughts around everything, and I have that business and data and realities of things. So I love that she kind of pushes me in doing things that I maybe wouldn't think are possible, mm-hmm. and that I can kind of also bring her back in when we need to on certain things. So if we can stay in our lanes, it's worked out pretty good. There's several times we'll say, hey, what do you want here? What do you want there? And then sometimes we'll just decide, hey, you take the decision on this one, I'll take the decision on that one. And that way it avoids us, getting into a big, long discussion around what it might look like.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, and so you have 6 children combined. What
Yes.
are their age ranges?
So oldest son is just turned 20, actually.
Okay.
And then youngest son is about to turn 9.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I am old enough, and I think many of our viewers are old enough to remember a show called The Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
With a total of 6 kids, 3
Yeah.
boys and 3 girls.
Mm-hmm.
So how's that? How's that going with everybody getting together under one roof?
Well, we have 4 boys and 2 girls,
Okay.
and the 2 girls are almost the exact same age. They're stepsisters of 12 and 13.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and so, it goes great most days. When we took them, McDonald's had a big convention in Spain, and that was kind of
Wow.
our first big family overseas trip last year. And so we took all of them, and we were trying to run through security in an overseas country, and there was a really long line, and the people were so kind, and they said, "Oh my goodness, you have 6 kids." They're like, "Follow me," and they took us right to the front of the line, and it was called the Family Express.
That's great.
And they're like,
Disney.
"I can't believe you're traveling with 6 kids."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So 2 questions come from that then. Now with this really big household that you have, how are you and MJ talking to the kids about business and entrepreneurial spirit, like we talked about with you and your father and my father and I? It starts very young.
Right.
Are y'all having those kinds of conversations, or is it more what they teach you from day one in the Air Force, lead by example, and they just kind of see what y'all are doing?
Yeah. It's a little different. Our kids are growing up now very differently than I grew up from just the world around them, and the way that education's done. There's so many options. My son in his senior year only has 2 classes he's going to.
Wow.
I had to be in school from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day.
Yeah,
Actually
yeah.
7 a.m. And so it's very, very different the way that they're growing up with the opportunity to have different types of education. Mm-hmm. And so I have been working to show them what we do in our business ventures. They understand it, probably not at the same level they could. And I also don't want to push them into something. I want to give them the opportunity. So, many of them have worked at McDonald's and have interest in maybe working there in the future. Other times they want to work there and then they want to go try something else in college and then they might come back and do it. So,
yeah, that's really
right now,
interesting.
Yeah, a lot of exploration.
You reminded me when I owned the law firm back in Atlanta. It's very difficult to get to kids in high school or middle school get across what it means to be a healthcare corporate and regulatory attorney. But they knew that they had a role, and early on, their role was shredded. So they were our document management department, and everybody got a little paycheck. And we tried to, Rebecca and I, who was the administrator of the firm for many years, tried to teach them about money because the checks, this is before electronic payments would come in. Checks would come in, made out to the law firm, and I'd stack them up. And then on breakfast, when the kids were lined up before they went off to school, every once in a while, I would say, okay, let's open some checks and just kind of teach them the difference between a check for several hundred or a check for several thousand. And I think ultimately that made sense to them and helped them teach the value of the dollar. How about for you? Have you taken the kids to the McDonald's and let them kind of see the back of the back of the restaurant?
Yeah. So we've had a great opportunity to open up many restaurants over the past year. We've opened 5 restaurants actually.
Whoa.
In 18 months. Yeah.
And this.
Yeah,
Man.
exactly. So it's been awesome to let them come and be a part of the grand openings, the ribbon cuttings, and to get to see some of the back end pieces of it. I think more than anything, they enjoy the new menu items. We just launched a new beverage lineup, and they love to go in and try the refreshers and see what they are. And
that's great.
do that. So yeah,
I got to tell you, it's so funny. My wife and I like to go, as I mentioned earlier today, I'm trying to lose some weight, man. So I don't go to McDonald's as much as I used to. But at Christmas time, we went to go get the Grinch meal. Right there was some special with like green salt on the fries or something like that. And we got to the McDonald's and they said, this is the one out in Freeport, which may be one of yours. And they said, they're all out. Yeah. And so, it seems like even though health standards and eating standards have changed so much in 30 years, kids still love it.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. And I mean, I think McDonald's has done a great job in staying relevant and staying something that people that are in the younger generation still feel great about. And I think with our quality of our food has been the important thing that we've tried to always tell people about, that, we have 100% pure beef, and we want to make sure that people know what's in their food. And so you look at our labels, that's clean label, and it allows us to feel good about what we're serving for people as well.
I love that. One of my, so Rebecca and I have not only moved, we have downsized, and she has a nice little box of stuff from growing up. I've got 4 Tupperware tubs full of stuff because I was a history major in college. That's just kind of my thing.
Yeah.
And that's got me going down memory lane. When my dad was stationed at Blytheville Air Force Base in Arkansas, about an hour outside of Memphis, I remember I turned 8 and had my birthday party at McDonald's, which was a big thing in the 70s,
Yeah.
And so McDonald's in many ways is a community center. Do you still find that these days with all
definitely.
the restaurants you have?
Yeah, definitely. We have a few restaurants that have play places, and they just stay absolutely packed. And it's just the place to go, for parents to take their kids to enjoy some time, give them a little break as well. And then, the birthday parties are a huge hit still for kids to go in there and be able to enjoy that. So the days that I can't get my son to eat at home, I say, hey, let's stop at McDonald's on the way. And then he's immediately in the car. It changes everything. It's like, okay, here we go.
That's fantastic. I can't help but say, needless to say, I'm a big guy and have always been a big kid. It was an important moment in my life when I was able to turn 12 and finally get a Big Mac.
Yeah.
Before then, my mother was like, you can't have a Big Mac. You're only a boy. Right. I'm like, well, I'm 12 now. How about that? So I've always loved the Big Mac. It's always been my favorite. Any chance you can tell us what the special sauce is?
Can't tell you that, but it does taste great. And
yes, it does.
We've put on a new sandwich, the Big Arch, and that's been a really popular sandwich too.
Oh yeah, that's great. Okay, so how many? You mentioned 5 in the last year. Before this really robust year of growth, how many did you have?
So we've gone up and down a little bit. We had 28 2 years ago.
Whoa.
Yep, and We had grown the company over the many years to get there.
Yeah.
And then as my dad was looking to downsize a little bit, we sold some of them off.
Mm-hmm.
We dropped down, and then we've ended up, we're up to 19 right now from the 5 we built and some of the ones we sold.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What it seems to me that the process of not only opening a new restaurant, but opening 5 is such a weighty task.
Yeah.
Because you've got to do everything, right? Construct, buy. First of all, locate where you want to put it, buy the land, build the building, and then take it on from there. How much of that is driven by you? How much of that is driven by by McDonald's corporate? Can you walk us through that process? Because growth in business is very much a part of what our audience wants to hear about, and that is really, impressive growth.
Yeah. Well, if you think about the franchise opportunities in the United States, there's so many companies that are offering franchises, right? And McDonald's, I strongly believe, is the best. And I think they've been doing this for a long time, and how they figure that out. And along with being the best, they've done some smart things. One of them being that they have a full real estate team that's always watching and monitoring the areas and where the right location is going to be. And so they're looking for 1,000% site, right? So you want to find the right places. And so they've been successful in doing that. So McDonald's will either purchase or lease the land, and then they lease it back to us as a franchisee. So
Interesting.
We will then handle it from there. Yeah.
Gotcha. What's its 1,000% site mean?
So you want a site that is easy to access, that's on a main road, that's maybe in the right shopping development. So a lot of times we'll be in front of a grocery store or near a big box retail or on a corner, and so that's changed over the years, right? You may have an area that was really popular or maybe isn't as popular anymore. So sometimes there'll be a relocation opportunity. Sometimes you'll add another one because of where the traffic patterns have been.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's interesting. You were talking about Mobile, and there's some lovely neighborhoods in Mobile. There are some that are, as you mentioned, less lovely. But I think I asked a question that was based on an assumption. I don't like to do that. Are all of the new McDonald's that y'all have built, the 5 in the last 5 years, are all of those freestanding on land, or have you put any in like a shopping center or located them inside something like the airport?
Yeah, they're all freestanding. 3 of them are on an out parcel of Publix supermarkets.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's been a good working situation.
Sure.
And then one of them is right next to a Walmart, and then one of them is in like a community area where there's like 3 or 4 being built, 3 or 4 different entities being built at the same time.
Gotcha. I love the fact that you have a real estate team to help you out. My younger brother is a physician in San Antonio, and 10 years ago was opening up his own practice. We were talking about 2 different places that he could lease. One was near it was in a strip mall, shopping center, I guess. I don't know, what's the right lingo for that? I guess shopping center.
Shopping center, mixed use development. Yeah.
Yes, something like that. But the biggest close, kind of neighbor was a government building. Then there was another one on a different part of town, and it was in a mixed-use shopping center like that. And the anchor out in the, what did you say, out parcel, out in the parking lot, was a Starbucks.
Okay.
I'm like, Starbucks has done the research. Go to that one.
Yeah.
Especially because you want parents who are going to come in. If they're going to pay $6 for a cup of coffee, they're going to want to take their kid to you.
Yeah.
And it worked out great.
Yeah.
It worked out great. What though lessons did you learn from that process of opening up 5 in such a short period of time to then take on this project at the Union Club?
I mean, you got to have a great construction team, of course, that's able to build and
Interesting. So it's the same crew?
A lot of them were built by the same company. Yeah,
That's great.
And the idea was that he would plan way far ahead and the McDonald's handles a lot of that too, because they're doing a lot of restaurants at the same time, and so they're working on having all those materials ready. And then the next thing is operationally, we have to have people ready, right? Each restaurant, we're putting in 50 to 60 new employees in there, getting managers ready, staffing up, training. So that part is really important for us too.
I love that. You know, Rebecca, my wife Rebecca, and I are not coffee people. No offense to MJ. We are, however, Diet Coke people.
Yeah.
And that's how we kickstart our morning, in particular with Fountain Diet Coke. When we lived in Atlanta, we had our favorite one right there on Peachtree Street. And we would go get a Diet Coke, stand there and look out the plate glass window at Peachtree and plan out our day and sometimes plan out our week. The Diet Coke at McDonald's just tastes different.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. You mentioned your kids love the beverages. Is that, if you were to draw a pie chart of revenue at a typical McDonald's, how much of that is beverages?
So beverages are definitely a significant portion. I wouldn't say a full quarter, but they're definitely a big piece of the business. Our goal is when you have a meal, you want to have beverage, right? So
Right.
we have a completely different system when it comes to the Coke and how we handle it. And it's the lines are refrigerated, then the water comes in and is able to make sure that we have it.
Interesting. That's so great. All right, so I mentioned, for those of y'all who are here in the Emerald Coast and listening to this, Costa Family Group owns the one right near what we call in our neighborhood the Small Mart and the Donut Hole in Santa Rosa Beach.
Yeah.
When Rebecca and I went there, I guess went right after it opened, David, which would have been wintertime a couple years ago maybe. Our usual thing is we like to serve ourselves, go up to the fountain, get a refill, have some, then go back to the fountain, get a refill. This McDonald's looks totally different because there's no fountains that are available. And really, if I recall, we didn't order from a person. We ordered from the kiosk.
Right.
So when you talk about 50 or 60 people, employees per restaurant, how has that changed with the labor market since COVID? Have you seen the average number of employees per restaurant go down?
No, we really haven't changed the number of employees. We're just trying to essentially serve more guests in a more effective manner. And so the opportunity to order on your mobile app or to be able to order on a kiosk allows you to then get your food in different ways, right? Delivery has been a huge way to get your food, and then the mobile app as well, and then the discounts available there, of course. And then
Sure. We have the mobile app. I got you.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you say that because at that one in particular, just as an example, and I'm curious about the 5 ones since then, it seemed like a number of parking spaces out front were dedicated to folks who were pulling in to get an order, I guess, that they've ordered on the
Curbside.
app. Curbside.
Yeah.
And isn't that interesting? Because wasn't McDonald's at its outset back in the 50s, wasn't it drive-up service where you would have a car?
Or you'd walk up first initially.
Right.
Yeah.
You'd walk up first.
Right, yeah,
Exactly.
you'd walk up area.
So isn't that interesting? Even with all the technology and 60 years difference, people are still getting McDonald's brought to their car.
Right, yeah, it is incredible, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So how does that technology change things? If you look at the number of people who like to come into the restaurant as a percentage of total customers, have you seen that shift?
Yeah, I mean, our goal is to get to a large number of our customers being really comfortable with our digital platform, because now our focus would be on the delivery point of the food. How do we make sure we can get that right? And we're not focused on automating that area as much. We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing in the back to have great quality product and then deliver it there. So you did see that difference with the drink station where we end up making the drinks in the back now, because we want the lobbies to feel really clean, the dining rooms to feel a simple, great area, and then we'll deliver it to you,
And it sure was. All right, so we just, this is, let's see, as I mentioned, I'm a pastor. Our church, Online Home Church, is Episcopal, and we have a liturgy that we follow, and lectionary. Our readings are selected for us in advance. Yesterday was the 4th Sunday of Easter. And so we celebrated Jesus saying, let not your heart be troubled. And last Sunday was Good Shepherd Sunday. Yeah. Anyway, that just reminds me, it's been a month since Easter, and during Lent, many Christians around the world don't eat meat,
right?
Including me. My dad was Air Force, but we went to Catholic school early enough on that I really try not to eat meat on Fridays during Lent, which means I love the filet of fish sandwich, brother.
Right, yeah.
All right, so I got 2 questions about that. First of all, what kind of fish is that? I've never even paid attention. And do you have to go catch it yourself? I mean, we live by the Gulf.
Yeah. No, we don't catch it ourselves. Generally, it comes from Alaska. It's like an Alaskan cod that we have there, yeah.
That's great.
And I love it. It's a white, flaky fish and tastes
Me
great.
too. It's fantastic. But one question then that I hope will give you a chance to educate us all about training and consistency, which are the hallmarks of the McDonald's experience. Yeah. If you go to one here and you go to one on the other end of the country or even a different part of the world, something like that. I mean, obviously there's differences based on culture, but something like that is going to be, basically the same. But during Lent, when I had maybe 4 or 5 filet of fishes, and certainly including previous years of Lent, feels like there's always a little more tartar, always a little less tartar. There's something always a little different about it. So how much do you strive to have standardization, and what kind of training regimen does it take to achieve that?
Yeah. So we use, an online platform to help initially train our employees, and then a lot of it shoulder-to-shoulder coaching and having frameworks put up in the restaurant so they know how to make them the right way.
Mm-hmm.
But the menu team's always looking to tweak it a little bit too, just to make sure the taste profiles match and then it still tastes good. So you may notice a little difference.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, sometimes the execution can be a little bit off, but I think McDonald's that's how they do a great job of holding standards across the country and really across the world and keeping things very similar.
Exactly. So when you went to Spain for the conference, did you go to McDonald's?
I did, yeah.
What was it like?
I mean, it was in Barcelona, so you're more in this area where there weren't a lot of drive-throughs, but and actually there was actually lines at the kiosks just to even order your food. So you had to wait in line there. And it was absolutely packed. You could tell that McDonald's was a place to go there.
Isn't that something? Rebecca and I were blessed to go to Italy last May, and we're taking a train from Rome up to Florence to then go to this country place. It's just gorgeous. So we said, all right, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. We're at the major train station in Rome. Let's get a Diet Coke. We know we can count on this. And sure enough, there was Diet Coke available.
Yeah.
But just like you said, at the train station in Rome on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m., 15 people in line at the kiosk.
Right.
I couldn't believe it,
Yeah.
But that just shows the popularity of the Golden Arches.
It does, yeah. Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about your book. Tell us, first of all, what has you interested in writing a book in the first place?
Well, over the many years as McDonald's leader, I've done a lot of different projects. So I've run my own company we have over 1,000 employees that work for us.
Wow.
Additionally, I serve on a national advisory council for McDonald's that I was elected to, and my whole focus there is on our HR systems, on our people, how to have great culture, how to have great training, how to have great onboarding, and understanding how we can have our employees want to show back up to work, right? And so it's always been a passion point for me. And so at that time, it was important for me to understand, how do I help people thrive in their workplace? And a lot of people I noticed personally were struggling and maybe were not able to thrive. And so that's been my goal, is to write a book that helps people figure out how to get unstuck, how to understand what's holding them back, so then that way they can be able to have the great life they wanted. And success looks different to everybody, right?
Yes.
We're all going after something different. The first thing I found was my employees many times couldn't even get to that point to figure out what they were striving for, because they were just trying to make it through today or tomorrow because of things that happen in their lives. And so how do we help them get past that and start making positive movements in their life? And so
I love that,
that's what
David,
it's about.
because when you talk about getting people unstuck, your answer as an employer of 1,000 people and owner of 19 McDonald's is much different than mine as a pastor. And yet I have a feeling sometimes the answer is exactly the same.
Right.
So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
What have you found because I understand your book, all right, now wait a second, Good to Golden.
Good to golden.
Good to
Yes.
Golden. Good to Golden is in process, right?
Yes.
You're still writing it. What are you finding are some of the key lessons for people to try and get moving? This is your chance to start kind of previewing the book and helping people who even are listening to this today to get unstuck.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would say is that, and this is something that very much interacts with what you're talking about from a pastoral standpoint, is, why are we here? And
Right.
and not why are you and I in this room, but like, why did God place us on this earth, and what should we be doing? And a lot of people don't understand that for themselves. They don't know what their purpose is on earth. And I think understanding what your purpose is the first thing you could do, and say, if my purpose is to empower others and to help lead them to Christ, or to help show them the way, or even just help them be able to operate in a normal environment because maybe their home environment didn't teach them that as a child. Maybe the goal is to help people get to that level. Then I know the next steps I need to take. But I can't figure those steps out if I don't know what my purpose is. And I often share that I don't believe that my purpose was to be able to cook hamburgers and to serve customers hamburgers and chicken. But I believe my purpose is to make a difference in people's lives and how I show up to my employees, and to my customers at McDonald's. So I'm doing my purpose through an incredible venture like
Yes.
McDonald's,
Yes.
but my purpose isn't necessarily that one individual thing.
And when you have folks, even as I believe in Florida, even high school students can work at a McDonald's.
Yes.
And when you talk to them about this, can you see the way that it changes their approach at the cash register or at the grill?
Right, yeah. When we talk about it, we train for hospitality, right? And you have to pick the right people that can work in your drive-through and front counter. And, you can't force somebody to smile. I mean, you kind of can, but you can't. I can say, hey, start smiling, right? Is that going to make you smile? Maybe for a minute.
Right.
But the idea is to inspire people to want to be there and to want to be happy at work, right? And to put an environment that will help them to be able to take care of our customers. So our thought is if we can take care of our people, they'll take care of our customers.
Oh, I love that. And so Good to Golden is not just for McDonald's people, it's for everybody who's trying to get unstuck.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And with that, you're going to start a podcast.
Yes.
My friend Jason Becker and I did a presentation at the next big thing, the Walton Chamber of
Yes.
Commerce meeting last October. And the subject was a little sarcastic. The subject was, can your business survive without a podcast? And we decided that it could, but boy, it really helps. So how do you envision the podcast coming either before, alongside, or after the book?
Yeah, the podcast is designed to be complementary to the book and kind of keep things, the principles alive, and to do a little bit of what you're doing is to interview and chat with people that also, are interested in giving back to others and helping them be able to be their best selves. Mm-hmm. And so the podcast, will start a little bit before the book gets launched, which will probably be in the third quarter.
Gotcha.
And so we'll start that out first, and then go into the book from there.
Fantastic. One the Christian Capitalist is you'll see on the cover of the book. The subtitle is "The Gospel of Hard Work and Generous Giving." So we have twin themes: God's called us to work, and God's called us to give.
Yeah.
This notion of God calling us to work is based on our very first understanding of God. That when we open up Genesis and read the creation story, we know one thing about our Lord before we know anything else. He works. Mm-hmm. And somewhere along the way, he made us in his image, which means we're made to work. Right. What do you think about that for folks who are listening to this, maybe and who are either out of work or looking for a job? How important is it to get back to work and get back up on the horse? What do you think about that?
I mean, again, I go back to that purpose statement of that. What is work to somebody? And you've heard before that if you find a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
And so that's how I look at it, is that really understanding and not settling for something else. So if you're looking for a job, you're looking to provide for your family, you may have to find the right thing in between what you're really passionate about, but don't give up on that passion and dream of what you're trying to do.
I love that.
Some people work a number of years and then they end up doing something else that they are passionate about. Because
I can relate to that.
You can, right. And so to me, that's the important part is sticking with that and having a goal of what you're trying to achieve.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And so let's talk about the giving part. You mentioned a while back that you're also interested in giving back. And I think the Union Club is part of that.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the charitable efforts of McDonald's that y'all own, first of all.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Well, my dad taught me this because early on, he was passionate about helping the community and being able to give back. It started in the school system. How do we help the schools? How do we give to them? And now the schools have a lot of different clubs and sporting, so you can really donate to a lot of things within one school. And then 15 years ago, he made the decision. I came alongside him to sponsor our local college, Northwest Florida State College, and create the Costa Leadership Institute there.
Wow.
And so that was a pivotal moment for us on the give back piece and in a local area for us. And then we also just got involved in the community in general and want to work with charities. One of the near and dear ones for me is Ronald McDonald House Charities. And
of course.
How we can work with them closely and help people and family and children that are in need there. And then I've gotten more on the national stage, as I mentioned, of helping out other McDonald's franchisees how they can do those similar things in their own communities for their people and for their community.
You know, it's so interesting you say that. I forgot to ask you this a while back when we were talking about the Brady Bunch that you and MJ have assembled in your home. Because leading by example deals with and affects work. It also affects giving. Time and time again, I talk to folks here on the podcast who've said, you know, my parents taught me to give from a very early age. What does that look like when y'all are doing a charity event through McDonald's or doing something at the college? Are the kids a part of that as well?
We try to involve them as much as we can. You know, so they've been part of the Christmas meals that are given out and the packing that we do in this area. They'll go and support that effort as well.
Great.
They've delivered meals to us on Thanksgiving, or not to us, to others on Thanksgiving.
Right.
And then they're part of giving back at church as well, and making sure that they're helping out in the child care now that they're getting older as well. And,
exactly.
And then when we do events within McDonald's too, they've helped us support those events.
I love that. So how, as a business owner and a leader of so many people, how does your faith get reflected in the workforce?
Yeah.
And I know especially for a franchise, it's very difficult. You're not going to be able to put in new artwork or sayings on the wall, or maybe even the music is also prescribed. But you're a devout man of faith. How does that work at your business?
Well, what we learned was, and we play Christian music in our restaurants,
Oh, is that right? You can do that? Okay.
Yeah, we do many times. Not exclusively all the time, but a lot of times we will. Mm-hmm. But what I've thought about is it's the environment that we create, and it's the leadership that we are, how we operate towards people. And when you think, one of my favorite books is Bob Goff, and he talks about love does, and he says, we can debate all the things of the Bible, we can get deep in there. Or we can just start loving others. I'm like, how simple.
Exactly.
Like Jesus taught us that the most fundamental thing, just love others, right?
Right.
And so that's our focus at McDonald's is how do we help just show love to other people, right? And how can we do that with our employees and to our customers? And so that's, to me, I hope that when you go into my restaurants that you can feel that more than necessarily see it. It's more of a feeling that you get.
More of a feeling. That's so funny, David. I love hearing that because I've talked to, over the course of the years with business owners, I've talked to everybody from dentists to handymen to folks that run charities. It all boils down to that. Just love your neighbor, and create a culture of love.
Right.
That's fantastic. All right, so our signature question here on the podcast is, what does it mean to you to be a Christian capitalist? I mean, some folks think that Christianity and capitalism as an economic system are opposed to each other. I think as a faith-based, small business owner that's really not so small, you may have a much different opinion. What do you think about that?
Well, I actually just attended a growth conference that's put on by, some Christian leaders and pastors and musicians that talk about that exact subject of how can you, as a Christian, be able to be part of a community. And I think that there was, for a long time, a piece saying that, hey, maybe you have to be humble in a way that you can't be successful financially. Mm-hmm. But to me, I think it's a heart posture, right? And we talk about the love of money and how that can be the root of evil. And, obviously I agree with that from the biblical standpoint. And I think that's why it's so important that it's not about money, and it's about, one, what we're passionate about and what we're doing with our business, right? What are we offering others and how we operate our business? And to me, I love the question you asked because it's all about bringing the two together. So a lot of times I'll attend a regular leadership conference that isn't biblically based. It's just more of something that a company's put on. And you go back and you're like, oh, that makes total sense. That's exactly what we read in the Bible, right? Of how we're going to operate. Like you said, treat others the way that you want to be treated and being able to love others. And you look at the 10 Commandments, and if you follow those in business, you do what you say you're going to do, right? Be a man of your word or a woman of your word, then you're going to be able to be so successful in business. And so we need more people in business that embody those values. Because I think that business sometimes has a bad rap of people that are just solely focused on more. Mm-hmm. But you're seeing a change in that now. And to me, there's a huge opportunity to be able to show the world that we can be entrepreneurs and love Jesus and bring those two things together and make a big difference.
Amen. Oh, that's
Yeah.
a fantastic message. I love it.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your wisdom, for telling us about all of the various business efforts you have going on, and for your wise summary there at the end. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Thank
been
you.
great talking with you today.
You too.
And thank you for joining us on the Christian Capitalist Podcast today, everybody. As we said at the outset, please like and tag and share and follow and all the things on social media. If you like this episode, please pass it along to whoever you think might appreciate this message. And you can always find out more about our movement at christiancapitalist.life. I'm Rich Sanders with the Christian Capitalist Podcast, where the more we make, the more we give.